And today, along with Brian Farrington, we will be presenting our final project paper on cybercrime victimization. Cybercrime, also known as internet crime, online victimization, and computer crime, refers to a wide range of criminal activities and is quickly becoming one of the world's most common forms of crime. In this paper, we'll be going over an introduction, background methods, and a discussion of cybercrime victimization. Introduction. Over the last few decades, the advancements of technology, particularly the use of the internet, has had a massive impact on society. Even the most casual observer would agree that technology has fundamentally transformed and become dependent on every element of civilization, from personal relationships to global commerce. The advancement of technology has resulted in the transformation and/or emergence of numerous forms of criminal victimization, placing increased demands on the criminal justice system to identify, punish, and adjudicate cybercriminals. Cybercrime victimization is defined differently in many resources, but a good definition that we found stated as the likelihood of experiencing three of the five forms of cybercrime. One is unauthorized access to one's computer, having information added, deleted, or changed on one's computer without knowledge or permission, and online harassment. Background. Cybercrime, also known as internet crime, online victimization, and computer crime, refers to a wide range of criminal activities and is quickly becoming one of the most common types of crime worldwide. Cybercrime is a significant issue that many people are aware of as a threat that could affect their ability to make a living. Regrettably, a large number of individuals are uninformed of the full extent and repercussions of having been a victim of cybercrime. If you ask the average person about cybercrime, they will almost always refer to property crimes like identity theft, online fraud, and digital piracy. This is because these are the kinds of crimes that most commonly associate with the term cybercrime. Personnel crimes committed online include, but are not limited to, acts such as cyberbullying, cyberstalking, and sexual exploitation. A large number of these types of personal cybercrimes, such as the ones mentioned before, have emotional repercussions for victims that are extremely similar to those that are experienced by victims of traditional violent crimes. These emotional repercussions include humiliation, fear, and helplessness. Here we can go over some of the figures of kind of cybercrime ecosystem and a hypothesis of a structure of how cyberbullying is. We also see a cause and effect and how to counter some of these things since technology is always around us. Methods. The comprehension of how cybercrime is committed has grown at an exponential rate over the past few years. Even though gathering representative data of cybercriminals is a difficult task, an ever-expanding body of research implies that the actions of cybercriminals may be explained in a large part by the same set of criteria that can account for the actions of more traditional types of criminals. That is to say, cybercriminals typically have low levels of self-control as well as low levels of social control. They are generally unsupervised, happy, and they go through strains, learn how to grow, and why these crimes go through their associations or associates. The strategy of neutralization, the social learning theory, and the self-control theory all receive additional support from these studies that are included in papers that were received. Cybercrime victimization and online dating is a method we will be discussing further about. A computer survey of randomly selected international sample of female customers of three popular internet dating services was conducted over a month-long period. The purpose of this research was to specifically study victimization of women who engage in online dating. The three services advertised that over 1 million individuals use them. The survey instrument was developed after reviewing available information on stalking, cyberstalking, and dating violence prevention. After an initial mailing to 140 possible participants, the survey was revised. The survey was then emailed to 1,400 female members of the dating service. The survey required approximately 10 to 15 minutes to complete and was administered with guarantee of protecting participants' anonymity, privacy, and confidentiality. The increase in cyber victimization did not translate into a significant amount of traditional stalking behavior among the groups. Among current users, the incidents of stalking that had occurred were almost negligible. Table 5 summarizes the frequency of traditional forms of stalking behaviors experienced by the respondents using online dating services. The research also shows that women do recognize safety issues and are careful with their encounters over the internet, especially especially once they have gained experience using online dating services. Older users also tend to be more cautious, and many respondents commented that they see no greater danger in online dating than in traditional blind dating. Some even found meeting people online to be safer than other ways of meeting possible dates. They've in the paper, they've also found that the greater the experience a woman has using an internet dating service, the more likely she is to be cyberstalked. While the behaviors encompassing the definition of cyberstalking may seem inconsequential, the trauma they can induce is not. That's an issue that a lot of I feel women go through, especially with so many dating apps. There have been many cases where the male will continuously look for information even after being rejected, and that's a form of cyber victimization. Cyberstalking and sexual exploitation. Cyberstalking is described as the relentless pursuit of an individual through the use of electronic or internet-capable equipment. The term cyberstalking can refer to a variety of activities carried out by the offender while using the internet. According to the Stalking Supplement of National Crime Victimization Study, example of these behaviors include threatening or harassing communications sent via email, instant messenger, chat rooms, message or bulletin boards, or other internet sites. Cyber stalkers are able to monitor their victims in a variety of ways, including through the use of electronic devices such as cameras, listening devices, computer programs, and global positioning system. Even though there is no definition of cyberstalking that is universally accepted, the one that has been presented here is consistent with findings from vast majority of research that has been done on the subject. The definition places an emphasis on repeated pursuit behaviors using electronic means. According to Cyberstalking Supplement of National Crime Victimization Study, among victims of stalking, 26% additionally experience some type of cyberstalking as part of the pursuit behaviors of the perpetrator. This was found in the victimization study. Even while it has received less attention than other types of cybercrime victimization, online sexual exploitation has also been a subject of a number of studies. Despite the fact that it is examined less regularly, these studies include ones carried out by Finkelor, Mitchell, and Wallach. I have them in the references as well. The act of inappropriately requesting or being exposed to sexual content that is not wanted is commonly understood to be an example of online sexual exploitation. It is true that younger people are targeted in sexual assaults that take place online, just as it is true of younger people are targeted in sexual assaults that take place outside in public places. The sexual exploitation that occurs online frequently takes place through the use of electronic mail, internet messages, and or text messaging, and it can lead to contact the subsequent exploitation in setting that takes place in the real world. Here we have some figures from one's from the statistic provided by NSAM, NSAM, and their results is very closely related to what we found in these research papers. Also, for sexual exploitation, those numbers are very similar as well. All these sources are quite different, and also their dates are a little bit farther apart. But the numbers are almost quite similar, meaning that it's still a very huge problem and it's becoming to be a little more, or it's coming more to light recently. And now Brian Farrington will be covering additional results, discussion, and conclusion.
Cybercriminals have become too fascinated with the thrill of hacking a system and taking full control from the users. Hacking is a hobby for some and a business for others. Cybercrime can leave a lasting effect on those who have fallen victim to these crimes. Criminals have managed to completely disrupt the lives of these victims. The immediate impact of cybercrime on victims is the loss of money. Cybercriminals have adapted the technology of most big companies, and in most cases, criminals have far more advanced tools. Due to simplicity, cybercrimes have spiked over the last few years. Cybercrime accounts for an estimated $6 billion in losses each year. That is up from the nearly $400 billion reported in previous years. When getting a clear idea of how much has been obtained through cybercrime, we must consider a few variables. Not all criminals that enter a system successfully get monetary value from their crime. Recent reports use a good rule of thumb is to assume that 2/3 of crimes result in monetary losses to the victim. This does not mean that their information has been compromised and can potentially lead to losses in the future. For this reason, cybercrimes continue to rise. Criminals are not satisfied with one win because that is not guaranteed that they will benefit financially in a single attack. Cybercriminals are some of the few criminals that operate beyond the means of the law. They can work countries away from the victims that they attack. This makes it impossible for criminals to be brought to justice. This leaves criminals feeling that the risk that they are taking is not as big as the reward they may receive. These active criminals are causing individuals as well as companies tons of money. Companies are becoming a bigger target. A successful data breach could lead to access to millions of users' information. The Equifax data breach, for example, in 2017 compromised the sensitive data of about 150 million people. These damages were estimated to amount $700 million in damages and ruin the reputation of the company while leading to many congressional hearings regarding the severity of data security. In response to these attacks, cybersecurity began to emerge. In the early 1990s, Norton released its first antivirus software. It was used to combat attacks that early users were under. Antivirus software can scan, detect, and remove viruses from an affected computer. This can make users feel more comfortable knowing that there is an extra level of security on their system. Also, the emergence of firewalls came about. Today, we combat cybercrime in many other ways. We are expected to use secure home networks, change passwords often, and keep software up to date. These ways are only preventive measures, and most cyber crimes can only be diagnosed once detected. As we move forward in the future of cybercrime, we must ask ourselves, who is more responsible? Is it the end user, or is it a bigger organization that should be held responsible for these crimes? Now that we have shifted the internet into cloud use, companies are coming up with models that can represent how we should secure our networks. In this example, AWS uses the shared customer responsibility. In this model, AWS protects customers' software, which is their compute, storage, database, and network, as well as the regions, availability zones, and edge locations. So they're responsible for all the security of the cloud. Within the cloud is the customer's responsibility. That would be customer data, platform applications, identity and access management, operating system, network and firewall configurations, client-side data encryption, data integrity, authentication, server-side encryption, as well as network traffic, to name the few. As we move forward in combating cybercrime, companies are becoming wiser and beginning to create models that can help combat against the attacks that we face daily.